Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I've got another fun, quick, easy little hand stitched project for you today, using up small scraps of fabric to make something really cute and really useful. Let me show you. So if you're anything like me, you'll have several keys on your keyring that all look pretty much identical. One for the front door, one for the back door, one for the garage. Really hard to tell the difference. If you want to grab the right key really quickly, it can be really frustrating. So I've come up with an ingenious solution, which is to make this little key cover out of 2 Suffolk puffs. Here we go, 2 Suffolk puffs stitched together. I've manipulated the hole in the centre of the Suffolk puff so that it goes more towards the top to fit the key. I'll show you how to do that, it's really easy. And then I've just done a decorative blanket stitch around here to strengthen it a bit and left it open here. And all you have to do is wiggle the key in, and I don't know if you'll be able to see because I can't hold it up to the light for you, but I've done, maybe if I put something light behind it. Yeah, you can just about see there that the hole goes all the way through the middle because I've put eyelets through, so that you can, I mean, it would sit pretty, I don't think it'd come off there too easily. It does come off when you want it to, but it sits pretty snugly there. So if it's just one key on its own, you could probably just leave it like that. But with the hole through, it means you can link it onto, so this one's actually a book ring. So if you had 2 or 3 keys on your keychain and each one had a different colour cover on it, you'd know which is which straight away. So I'm really pleased with this, and it's so quick and easy to do, and it's also another excuse to make Suffolk puffs, which is brilliant. Talking about the Suffolk puffs, just recently, you might remember, I treated myself to this clover Suffolk puff maker, and I'd resisted buying these for years because I thought, well, unnecessary expense. All you have to do, and you definitely can, I'm not saying you have to go and buy these, they definitely make it easier to get consistent results, but you can just cut your circle of fabric and gather it round by hand. It's fine, it's just these make it easier. I ended up getting one of these after I saw Christine of Create and Craft with Christine using one, and I thought, oh, actually that does look really good. So I ended up buying one. But they're quite expensive. I think I paid 5 or 6 quid for this. I noticed looking on Amazon again now, just looking on Amazon, let alone other places, the prices vary hugely, so definitely worth shopping around. I thought, a bit of plastic, Anyway, so now I've found these, which I guess is kind of a knockoff version, but they seem to be perfectly good. This whole set of 4, was it 4 or 5? 4 that I got from Amazon was £12.37, I think it was. And I got 4 sizes here: extra small, small, large and extra large. So this one is the large. This is 4.5 centimetres. There's a small, which makes a 2 centimetre Suffolk puff. No, that's the extra small. This one's the small, which makes a 3 centimetre puff, and that is what I've used for this. So if you want to do it without one of these, you need to cut your circles about, let me just check for you. Start with an 8 centimetre circle and have an experiment. I think an 8 centimetre circle is going to be about right. Quite chuffed with these. So they all came in a bag like this, a bit too much plastic for my liking, because inside this is yet another plastic bag. Don't really see how that's necessary, but I'll show you the rest of what's in here. And this is all the instructions. I won't be able to understand the wording, but the diagrams are pretty self-explanatory. For £12.37 for all 4, that means they're averaging out about 30 quid, but obviously it's a bit more for the big ones. Maybe it doesn't work out that much cheaper, I don't know. But I did look at some kind of bundles of the clover ones, they were definitely a lot more than 12 quid. I'm just going to be using this one. As I say, start with an 8 centimetre circle, and I think that will bring you to about the right size circle. You want it to be a snug fit, but obviously it needs to be big enough for the key to go in and out of. And this is another one, like lots of the little projects I've been making in this little series, that would be a brilliant little small price item on a craft store, or as a little gift for people at Christmas. You could definitely do more embroidery on it if you wanted to, or add beads, or, you know, go to town on it. Let's stop waffling on and just get on and make one of these. It's pretty quick. The only other thing I've used is this, I think it's called an awl. This is it. It's got quite a sharp point. I just use this for poking a hole to make the eyelet. I bet you could use anything. You could start it off with anything sharp to make the beginning of the hole, and then poke a knitting needle through or a crochet hook through just to widen the hole. But this is really handy because it's like sloped like this. You can sort of start off with a small hole and then gradually work it bigger and bigger, so it's quite useful. Let's do a blue one this time. I'm going to need 2 pieces. I could do 2 contrasting pieces. I think maybe with this one I'll do one in this and one in this. So I tend to start off by cutting a square a little bit bigger and then trimming it down. And obviously you can use any scraps you've got. The scraps that I'm using, in case anybody's interested, are from the Bazaar scrap packs. I'll put a link to them below. So bearing in mind that the side I put downwards now is going to be the side that shows. The right side of the fabric needs to go downwards. If you're trying to centre up a particular bit when you're making these, you can kind of see what you're doing. And can you see there are, let's just show you before I put the fabric in, can you see there are 3 little dots here? 3 little kind of nodules sticking out, and there are 3 lines on here. The idea is to line those up, and if you line those up, then these dots are going to be in perfect alignment. These little holes are going to be in perfect alignment. So that's helpful. We have the same thing on the clover version, except in this case there are 5 on this large one. So let's pop that in, pop this inside so that those lines match up with the little knoblets. Push it down, it kind of clips together like that. I'm going to take some just normal sewing thread, and I'm going to use quite a long length of it, because rather than do a knot on the end, I've got this little trick I saw someone doing when they were making dolls actually, but it works in this situation as well. So I'm going to use the thread double, but instead of putting one end through the needle and then pulling it through double, I've folded it in half first, and then I'm taking the 2 ends and putting those 2 ends through the eye of the needle. So instead of putting one end through and then pulling it through to make it double, I'm putting both ends through. So I've got this shorter length, but it's double, and that should be long enough to get me around the circle. And I've got this loop on the other end, of course. So now, as I go around, I'll bring the edges over like this. To make my first stitch, I'm just going to go through, I'm starting working from this side. I'm going to go through to the front, not pull my thread all the way through, and I'm just going to bring it back down through the same hole, making sure I don't make it go through itself, kind of thing. Pull it all the way through, and then put my needle through that loop, and that kind of, it sort of knots itself then, so I don't have to make a knot and leave an end, if that makes sense. So that's just to start me off, and now I'm going to go back. Now I'm going to start. So I'm coming out there, and then I'm going back in at the other end of that little kind of bite shape, that little smiley shape, back through to here, and then going, tucking the fabric down as I go, and back out through the next hole. Not going across here, I'm going across here, otherwise the 2 pieces won't come apart in a minute when I need to. So I've come up at one corner of the smiley mouth, I'm going down through the other corner. Tuck the fabric down again, move along to the next little smile. Oop. Tuck the fabric. If you're doing this without one of these little gadgets, you just take your circle, run your gathering thread around, leaving a little turning, and you know, you can easily do it. I've been making them without a gadget for years. It's just that with this gadget, once you get used to using it, it's so much quicker and so much more consistent, to the point where it can get quite addictive to make them. So it's nice to find another little use for them. I'm coming towards the end now, and what I'm going to do is carry on and just overlap by one smile. Right, and now I'm going to pop the two pieces apart, just press there, and they just fall apart. I should have finished it up with the needle on this side, and then just open this up to release that disc. And now I've got my Suffolk puff all ready to gather up. So yeah, if you're making it by hand, you would just gather up around here. Yeah, it's definitely perfectly doable without one of the gadgets. They're just quite nice to use. And now I'm just going to start gradually gathering up. I do like to have the thread double because I end up pulling on this quite tightly. Normally you just gather it up into the centre and run a securing couple of stitches back and forth. I'm just working this round so the gathers are sort of evenly dispersed, and once I'm happy with that, love that cute look at that cute little shape. There's so many more things I have planned to do with this. I think just that as it is, what a lovely little, you could just maybe slightly stuff it and secure it with a stitch and just use that as a like the end of a cord, of a closure cord or whatever. I just think that's adorable. I want to leave this just slightly open. It's quite a thick fabric and quite a small puff, or yo-yo, so I've got to coax it a little bit, and as I'm closing it up, I'm encouraging this hole to go up towards the top, not to be completely central. I'm just pushing it to go up towards the top because I want it to line up with the hole in my key, or pretty much line up with the hole in my key. And I could probably fasten this off first and then manipulate the hole to go upwards a bit, but I just think it's a little bit easier to do it before I fasten everything. Once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to run a stitch back in here to, because I'm not going to see this. Normally I'll do it back and forth here and then lose the stitch in the thread inside, but I'm not going to see this back of it, so let's just do this here. And now what I did was just poke a hole through this. Mind you don't poke your finger. As I say, this is quite nice because it starts off with quite a sharp point and gets bigger and bigger, so I can gradually work this hole. But if you haven't got that, just start off with something sharp, you know, an old dart I've used in the past, any kind of a pokey tool basically, or a large darning needle even, to start you off, and then gradually work bigger and bigger knitting needles into it to increase the size of the hole. Can you see that? Now I can't just leave it like that because it'll be alright at the moment, but over time that could fray away. So the next thing is to create an eyelet. And I'm just going to do this with this thread that I've got left on the needle. You could do it with stranded cotton if that's what you've got. To make the eyelet, I've got my thread lying that way. I'm going into the hole. I'm just catching this top layer of this puff. No, I'm not trying to get all of these gathers, just this top layer. And then I'm putting my needle into the hole and coming out just a little way, just a couple of millimeters. There we go. Just doesn't need to be too big. So I'm just putting that in, not pulling the needle all the way through. The thread is still double, but it doesn't have to be. So before I pull the needle through, I'm going to take this thread now. So this is a buttonhole stitch I'm doing now. I'm bringing the thread around there, under the point of the needle and back up before I pull the needle through. And then as it gets to the end, I'm just pulling it up doing that again, do it again for you a couple of times. So in the hole, come out a few millimetres away, bring the thread down under the point, back up, pull the needle through and up to create, and what that does is create a little knot, which isn't going to show too well, but it creates a little knot around the edge. You could just use a normal blanket stitch instead, that would probably work fine, but I just think this buttonhole stitch is a little bit more durable. Whatever you use, it's not going to show. You could probably even get, because it's not going to show, essentially all I'm doing is stopping this edge from fraying away with time. It might even be worth experimenting with making the hole in the way I did, and instead of stitching around it, just carefully apply some PVA glue and leave it to dry, because that would also stop the edges fraying. Let's make sure it's kind of, you know, soaked into the fibres of the fabric. I think that would work as well if you don't want to stitch this. It's almost a shame it's not going to show. I'm doing a lovely job of this. Oh, not that one. Oh, that served me right. Look, I ruined it now. That's what I get for being smug. Right, I'm going to work my way around this eyelet. I'll be back in a sec. I've done the last stitch on my eyelet now. Get it to focus. I know what Tom would say if he could see that, but I'm not going to repeat it. So it looks quite neat, but as I say, it doesn't really matter what it looks like because you're not going to see it. It's just to stop it fraying away. So definitely worth, if you don't want to do that eyelet stitching. I mean, that's taken me 2 or 3 minutes to do that. It's nothing. If you don't want to do that, definitely experiment with just using some PVA glue instead. Let that dry before you move on to the next stage. So now all I need to do is make another one just like that, and then I can sandwich them together. I've finished making this one just the same as the other one. Finished my little eyelet, and I'm leaving the thread in there, and I'm just going to take that thread out to the edge, down to where this is. If this is the top of the key, I want to leave about a 2 centimetre gap at the bottom. So I'm going to bring my thread out here to start stitching the 2 pieces together. You could just start a new piece of thread if you wanted, but since I've got it on my needle, I might as well use this. So I'm going to now put them together, flat sides together. This is the top because I've got the hole more towards the top. This is the top of this side. In real life I can see that there's daylight showing through that hole. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. If in doubt, just make sure, get your pokey thing again and make sure the hole goes all the way through so you know they're lined up. And if you can see that now, there we go. You can see my hand through it. This is what, about 7 o'clock? Really just tack these together at this stage. And I'm going to go all the way around to 5 o'clock. And that should leave me just about enough of a little hole to get the key in. You want to be able to get it in without stretching everything too much, but you need it to be small enough to fit snugly and stay on, really. So, although because you've got the hole through and the ring will go through, that will help to keep it on as well. If you don't want to put it on a ring and you just want to leave the key on its own like that, you could just tie a ribbon through it, you know, or a cord with a couple of beads on the end or whatever, you know. I think a lot with all of these little ideas I've been coming up with recently, it's just the idea, and I'd love to see what other people do with it. I'm just going to do a quick ladder stitch now just to tack these together, and then I'll do blanket stitch, a decorative blanket stitch. So I've come out on this side, and now I'm going to go to the other side and take just a small stitch towards the left and come out there. And now I'm going straight across back to the other side and taking a small stitch towards the left. And you can see as you pull it tight, those stitches almost disappear, so it just holds it together almost invisibly. Back to the other side, small stitch, and you just zigzag back and forth like that all the way, not all the way around, remembering to leave that little gap at 5 o'clock. Could use a heat erasable pen or something to make a little mark where you're going to finish, if that helps. So I reckon I'm about at 5 o'clock now, but before I fasten that off, I'm just going to leave my needle in, my thread in the needle, and just put a key in just to check how that feels. And you can see that's gone in pretty easily. I might just do one more stitch, finish up by putting my needle back in and then back through the loop and pull the needle through to lose the thread within the layers. So that's all tacked together now with ladder stitch. My key will go inside. The hole goes all the way through, and in fact, as I say, it's not going to come adrift easily anyway. It's going to fit pretty snugly. I'm still deciding what to call these. Key cozies? Key caps? I think key caps. That's the gist of it. Now I'm just going to do a bit of decorative stitching. Like I said just now, you could go nuts with this decorative stitching. I'm keeping it pretty simple, but you definitely could get more fancy if you wanted to. So I'm just going to start off with a knot. I'm going to start off at that edge again. I'll take my needle inside so to lose the end of that thread. Got a knot in there so it won't come adrift. And I'm just going to do a little blanket stitch here. So I'm just putting the needle across, making sure it goes over that thread and pulling through. Back in from the same direction, making sure it's over that again so that it catches that loop as you pull it through. That's it. Simple, straightforward blanket stitch. You could just do an over stitch as well if you preferred. You could use a contrasting thread. You could add some beads to the edges. If you threaded a bead on at this point, pull the bead all the way through, snug it up to here, complete the rest of the stitch, you'd end up with a little beaded edge blanket stitch. That could be quite cute. I might do one like that in a minute. Another thing that would be quite fun, but not if you want to be able to put it on and off a ring easily, would be to add buttons. So you could sew the button on in the middle like that, and then just enclose a cord within here somewhere. If I was going to, I might do one like that in a minute just to show you. So assuming I didn't want to have that hole up here so that I could put the ring in and out, I could gather the puff up more in the middle as you usually would, and tie and stitch a button on, possibly even a button on both sides of it. It's not a particularly pretty button, but you could use quite pretty buttons or beads. A bead in the centre would be really nice. And then just stitch a length of cord or a few lengths of stranded cotton in and out at the top. Just put them through with a needle at the top and plait them together to make a cord to hang the key by. Yeah, I mean I've just got the hole like this so that it can be kept on a key ring. Another thing that might be an idea is to run an extra little stitch through all of these folds just to make sure this all stays really secure as well. You could definitely do that if you want to be on the safe side. I just love the look of these, and anybody that likes Suffolk puffs is going to like this, I reckon. They'll make a lovely little present for someone. You'd have to tell them what it is if you gave it to them like that though, wouldn't you? They think, what on earth has she given me? You kind of need to see it on a key. Maybe I'll try and make another couple a minute because they're just so quick to do. I've taken less than an hour making both of these, and I will come back and show you what they look like in a mo. Decided I'm going to do this third one a different way, so I thought I'll come back and show you what I'm up to. So I'm just making I've done a green patterned circle, and this time I haven't worried about what it looks like here. I've just fastened it off in a really messy way, because this time what I'm going to do is sandwich them together this way, and the interest will be more in the decorative stitching and some beads around the outside. I've dug out some beads to use. I thought the purple and the green would be a nice combination. I always love purple and green anyway, but that might just be me. But this time as well, I'm not going to move the circle up to the hole up to the top. I'm going to let it be in the centre, because I'm not going to have that eyelet going all the way through this time. So pulled that one up nicely. Can't see it too well on that purple. There we go. Take this thread out to the edge and leave it there ready to stitch the two together in a minute. But first I'm just going to do a little bit of decorative stitching on this. Okay, so I'm going to do this just as a spiral rather than lots of rings. I'm just going to spiral in towards the middle. A little bit wonky, don't care. I could just as well have embroidered a little lazy daisy on here, maybe. Be quite cute, wouldn't it? Or an initial, or a number. If I wanted to stitch a button on, or sequin, or anything else on here, I would need to do this at this stage. I think it would be, well, it'd be a lot easier anyway. Okay, so because I seem to have somehow ended up with a slight flatness at the bottom, I'm going to make that the bottom of my key, of my keycap. Now I've dug out a couple of little bags of these beads, just thinking I need for my needles bit to go through them, and they've got quite large eyes, but I don't know. No, I'm going to need a different needle, so when it comes to stitching the beads on in a minute, I'm going to have to, I don't really want to dig around for my beading needles or find bigger beads. I did see these ones as well. I wonder if these will go. Yeah, they will go over that needle, so I think I might just go for this instead. I still think that will look quite pretty. Okay, those will live to fight another day. Yeah, you definitely could put a sequin in the middle and then radiate some stitches out from it. You could definitely do lazy daisy or something. Maybe, we'll see with this one, I could have the Suffolk puff effect on one side. I could have I could have put a coloured lining inside, a brightly coloured lining inside to show through. And again, I'm going from 7 o'clock round to 5 o'clock ish, but I will stop and try the key before I fasten off my thread. I could at this point think about enclosing a piece of cord. So this is a piece of cord, this came in the scrap packs as well. I could enclose a piece of cord here before I stitch them together. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to do it by running some thread through it instead. I could also put all sorts of bits of ribbon. I think I'd want one that matched a bit better than this, but just sandwich a little piece of ribbon there. Could do that instead if I wanted. I've just done a complete stupid and put them together the wrong way around, look. Okay, let's try that again. But I'm going to stitch these together again, the right way around this time, and then I'll be back when I come to do the beading bit, just to see how that works out. Back in a mo. Okay, I've done it the right way around this time. And I've checked that my key does still fit in there. Well, I checked, and then after I stitched, I must have stitched it up too close. Must have just taken an extra stitch too many. So I'm very glad I discovered that before I started doing the decorative stitching. There we go. So it's got its little hat on, and I'm going to start. Excuse me if you can hear my tummy rumbling, I'm starving. Okay, just going to give myself a little double stitch to secure here. this end. And now I'm going to, like before, let's just check this for fit again before I start. Yeah. So like before, I'm going to a blanket stitch all the way around, but this time I'm going to add a bead. I think I will, because this time the green fabric is a little flimsier, I'm going to blanket stitch around the edge of that as well, so the blanket stitch will appear to go all the way around. Well, it will go all the way around, but it's not going to be joining the two pieces together at this point. So now before I move on to, that's my first blanket stitch made, before I go on to the next one, I'm just going to thread a bead on. And then I'll make the rest of the blanket stitch in the same way. So making sure that the thread goes underneath. I think that will work, yeah. So I could put another bead on now, but I don't think I want them all the way around like that. So this one I'm just going to do just a plain stitch. Now thread another bead on. So I think it would have looked nicer with these little dinky ones, but I don't think I've got a needle that will hold this. I haven't got one handy. I might have somewhere that will hold the two strands of cotton and go through these beads. So make another stitch. And then this one will just be plain. Made a right old mess on my desk, look at it. Next stitch without a bead. So yeah, you can see what that's going to look like. I think that would be quite cute, and I will work that now all the way around here, and then I'll be back. One last little bit I wanted to show you, because I forgot I was going to do this bit. I've just taken 3 relatively short lengths of the stranded cotton, all 6 strands, and I've threaded them through a large eye needle, large eye sharp point, so where the sun's going across now. I've just threaded them one at a time, in here and out here, and then I've plaited them together up to this point. And now my idea is that I will plait all 6 strands together. Yeah, the 2 green ones will become 1 strand, and there's 2 pairs of the purple ones as well. I'll just now plait those together. You can't really see what I'm doing, it's a bit awkward. Hang on, I should hold together now. So yeah, I've brought all 6 strands together, and I'm now going to plait all of them together and knot it at the end. I might have to retie that knot in a minute. Just cut that off there. We just cut that off there and call that done, I think. But you can see where I was going with that. Let's find, where's that other key? Here we go. There we go. How cute is that? It reminds me a little bit of one of those old-fashioned cards of pins. Let's see if I can get me a thumbnail. So there we go. That is my keycaps. I think I'm going to call them keycaps or key covers. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you found it useful. If you've got any questions, do please ask. Don't be afraid to ask in the comments. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm going to go off and get my dinner now. Dinner's something I've very much looked forward to since I started this diet. It's a big event, dinner. I've been planning it all day. Thanks very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you again really soon. Starving.